US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to reach a deal to avert new 100% US tariff on Chinese goods and are also likely to meet in person soon at the upcoming APEC summit in South Korea's ancient city of Gwangju. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said following talks with Beijing's top trade negotiator that markets have responded instantly. Stock futures have climbed up across the board as investors are welcoming signs of stability in US-China relations and also a potential new chapter in trade cooperation.
A lot of expectation building up to this meeting. But there are several things that India and the US side need to thrash out. The first one being the trade deal that seems to be progressing now, because we had seen in the recent past that there were several impediments to the deal. Those seem to have been removed now, but whether or not the next stage of discussions will be held soon, that is one of the biggest question. Trump has also sort of softened his stance on India, but he does keep repeating the rhetoric that India will stop buying Russian oil in order to get back in the good books of the US. India has so far not commented directly on that statement from the US, but these are some good signs. The 6th or 7th round of discussions, the trade discussions, when that will be held, that is the biggest question, because both the sides have met quite a few times in the last few months to iron out the details. There are several differences that they need to talk about, such as whether India will allow the US to have access to the Indian agriculture market. That is the biggest point of contention. So one can assume that these are the topics that would have been discussed in this big meet.
External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has met US Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the ASEAN Summit sidelines. Jaishankar took to Twitter and posted, appreciated the discussion on our bilateral ties as well as regional and global issues. Meanwhile, just hours before the meet, Rubio said US wants to deepen its relationship with Pakistan, but not at the cost of its long-standing partnership with India. Rubio also added that both nations understand the need for pragmatic diplomacy in today's complex world. Here's more.
Well, so far the details of the meeting are not known, because Shankar has just tweeted about this meeting that we had been expecting, and there was a lot of expectation building up to this meeting. But there are several things that India and the US side need to thrash out. The first one being the trade deal that seems to be progressing now, because we had seen in the recent past that there were several impediments to the deal. Those seem to have been removed now, but whether or not the next stage of discussions will be held soon, that is one of the biggest question. Trump has also sort of softened his stance on India, but he does keep repeating the rhetoric that India will stop buying Russian oil in order to get back in the good books of the US. India has so far not commented directly on that statement from the US, but these are some good signs. The 6th or 7th round of discussions, the trade discussions, when that will be held, that is the biggest question, because both the sides have met quite a few times in the last few months to iron out the details. There are several differences that they need to talk about, such as whether India will allow the US to have access to the Indian agriculture market. That is the biggest point of contention. So one can assume that these are the topics that would have been discussed in this big meet.
After more than 5 years, viewers, the skies between India and China are finally open again. That's correct. The first direct flight since early 2020 took off from Kolkata on Sunday night. That's yesterday night. Indigo flight sequence number 1703 departed just before 10 p.m. bound for Gwangju, marking a new phase in post-pandemic cooperation. Now, more routes are also on the way, with Delhi-Gwangju flights starting the 10th of November and China Eastern launching Shanghai-Delhi service just a day earlier on the 9th. In fact, Air India is also working on a plan to start flights to Shanghai from New Delhi. Now, this moment is being seen as a major step towards rebuilding trust between the two Asian giants. The return of these flights follows years of diplomatic frost, border tensions, and pandemic shutdowns. But with both nations now navigating global economic pressures and also looking to boost trade, this renewed connection could very well signal warmer ties. We shift our focus to the UK, where police have launched an urgent manhunt after a racially aggravated rape of a young woman in Walsall in northern England. Now, the victim, believed to be of Indian Punjabi heritage, was attacked on Saturday evening in the Park Hall area. East Midlands cops have released CCTV footage of the suspect, right as you see there on your screens, viewers. They're describing him as a white man in his 30s with short hair and dark clothing, and are also appealing to the public for information. Furthermore, detectives are saying that this was an appalling and targeted crime. Specialist teams, meanwhile, are currently working to find the attacker. Community groups have also expressed deep concern, noting that the assault comes just weeks after a similar racially aggravated rape of a British Sikh woman nearby. Police have increased patrolling and are urging everyone with CCTV or dashcam footage to come forward immediately. We shift our focus back to the US, where President Donald Trump said on Saturday he was hiking tariffs on Canadian goods by an additional 10%. This as fallout continued over a Canadian anti-tariff ad that featured late US leader Ronald Reagan. Now, the announcement comes 2 days after Trump said he had terminated all trade talks with Canada over what he terms the fake ad campaign. Now, this ad from the Canadian province of Ontario used quotes from a radio address on trade that Reagan in fact delivered in 1987, in which he warned against ramifications that he said high tariffs on foreign imports could have on the US economy. Russia said on Sunday that its forces had launched strikes on Ukrainian railway infrastructure over the past 24 hours, while Ukraine said on the same day that all its troops had hit Russian radar stations in their respective daily report on the latest developments of the conflict that has dragged well into its third year now. According to the war report from the Russian Ministry of Defense, the Russian army attacked Ukraine's 147 areas, including trains used to transport weapons and equipment to the Donbass theater, energy facilities, long-range drone production workshops, and even launch sites, unmanned boat storage warehouses, and temporary deployment points of Ukrainian military formations. Jordan on Sunday received the 14th batch of patients from the Gaza Strip under the Jordanian Medical Corridor Initiative. Here, the latest group included 34 patients and 78 companions, and the patients will receive treatment in Jordanian hospitals. Patients and their families will be sent back to Gaza once their medical treatment is complete. The Jordanian Medical Corridor, as it's called, was launched in March this year and supports Palestinians and alleviates their humanitarian suffering. For perspective, Jordan has received 266 patients till now for medical care since the launch in March. We get you more.
واحنا انبترت رجلي، هي مبتوره رجلي من الاثر الحرب ومن اثر النزوح ومن اثر الروحان. جوار الدفاع المدني هدمت داري 8 شقق بدارين مش دار واحده، وعندها 18 شهيد. عندي 18 شهيد من اولادي واولاد اولادي، وظل بنتين وراء، واحده اكلت في عينيها شظايا، ويعلم الله انه الطيب ما الطيب، وفيها شظيه في راسها، وهذيك اللي فيها شظيه في عينها.
Argentina's libertarian president Javier Milei won decisive victories in key districts across the country in midterm elections this Sunday. Now, the results give Milei a crucial vote of confidence that strengthens his ability to carry out his radical free market experiment with billions of dollars in backing from US President Donald Trump's administration. Now, Milei's governing LA Libertad Avanza party won over 40% of votes in national elections to renew almost half of the lower house of Congress, according to tallies in local media, using numbers from electoral authorities with more than 97% of the votes that have already been counted. Now, the La Libertad Avanza also swept 6 of the 8 provinces in the vote to renew a third of the Senate. Now, these figures exceeded analyst projections for Sunday's vote. We get you more.
Los argentinos mostraron que no quieren volver al modelo del fracaso, al modelo de la inflación, al modelo de la emisión monetaria, al modelo del Estado inútil, al modelo de la inseguridad. Los argentinos le dijeron, basta al populismo, populismo nunca más.
New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani has vowed to take the city back at a rally on Sunday as the race enters its final stretch. That's correct. Mamdani, the Democratic nominee now, took the stage at a small stadium in Queens where he and two of his nation's leading progressives pitched his candidacy as a force to take on billionaires and oligarchs in this case who have thrown money and support behind his opponents. Now, viewers at the crowd chanted his name. Mamdani reiterated plans to hire thousands of new teachers, renegotiate city contracts, freeze rent for low-income residents, build more affordable housing, and provide universal childcare. Here's Mamdani for you.
And now, as we stand on the precipice of taking this city back from corrupt politicians and the billionaires that fund them, let our words ring out so loud tonight that Andrew Cuomo can hear them in his $8,000 a month apartment. Let them ring so loud so that he can hear us even if he's in Westchester this evening. Let them ring so loud that his puppet master in the White House hears us. New York is not for sale.
An image of a man wearing a fedora hat standing near police officers right outside the Louvre in Paris has caught the eye or the imagination of people online. Now they're wondering if he's a detective involved in investigating the recent heist at the famous Parisian museum. French photojournalist, meanwhile, who has worked for the AP in Paris for 18 years, took the image but knows nothing about the man featured in it. Police, meanwhile, have been near the area due to robbery last Sunday, which made global headlines, but Camus didn't feel that this person was involved with them. Here's more.
Maybe he's a tourist, maybe he's just a Parisian who planned to go to the Louvre this morning, but I really don't know who is he. But I think it's kind of dandy, so I don't know, maybe it can be a tourist, I don't know. I decided to take this photo because the guy is really well dressed as an old-fashioned guy, and I decided to take this photo because I think he sticks to the idea that I have of the museum, with old things, and yes, he's dressed like, I don't know, maybe end of 19th century guy. I think it's just a guy who passing by here, and that's it. I think he has no any relationship with police or with security guards or anything. So I saw those 3 or 4 police officers in the cars, sitting in the car, and then the guy just walking by them, and so I decided to take this picture. But I was there, to make some ambience, some features photo. So, and I thought that it was a good one because the guy is well dressed. He's not the real investigator. I think he's not. We used to meet some real investigators, and they are not dressed like this, and is really young. The guy must have maybe 18 or 19 years old, so I think he's not the real investigator.